lessons.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would love to introduce our wonderful toasters for the night. So please help me in making some noise for our best man, Sam, the maid of honor, Piper, and the father of the bride, Jim.
You guys ready? How's the? Oh, there it goes. Well, I guess it's my turn. First, I'd like to welcome everybody. I know that you've been welcomed by Mark and Charlene, and of course by Laura and Rob. But from the Munch side of the family, we really are happy that you all came to join us for this wonderful occurrence that's happening tonight. And you're all going to play important roles in Laura and Josh's life. So, it really does take a village or a family, so we're glad you're all here. And it's going to be tough to thank all 150 of you for coming, and many of you came from, far away. So we really do appreciate and welcome you all, to the wedding. I would like to have special thanks to Sarah, who earlier we thanked. Boy, what a great job she did, today. Yeah. And then I want to thank Mark and Charlene for the welcome party last night. That was really above and beyond, and that was just a great get together last night. This is the fourth wedding that our families had this year, and so at every one of them, I listened to the toast by the father of the bride, and it started out earlier with Charlie Frank over there, and when their daughter got married, in Kansas City, and then Don and Kay Padgett and their daughter Jenny got married in Santa Fe, and then followed up with Ed and my sister Carol when Eric got married. So I tried to take notes from all three of these, to kind of find out what I liked and didn't, and so we'll kind of see how this goes. Charlie is actually an actor, so he did a really good job at his. Let me kind of introduce the Munch family or our side of the family to a lot of you. I know many of you met everybody last night, but Laura's brothers first. We got Brian Fuller over here, and then his wife Jill, and their two children, Reed and Chase, and then Jill's parents, Don and Kay Padgett, who we mentioned earlier. They got married about 16 years ago. And hopefully the same thing, and I'm sure it will, their family and our families become totally integrated. So it's really nice to have Don and Kay here, celebrating the wedding of our daughter. And then next we have Jeff Fuller, who's here. And you met Jeff last night. And then we have Matt Fuller and his son Ollie. And Ollie, of course, was the And then our youngest son, Rob, and his special person in his life, Selena, wherever Selena disappeared to. Yeah. And on with Carol, my sister, and Ed, which you mentioned earlier, and then their children there they are. Max is over there. Eric's over there. Eric's the one that just got married to Katie, who's next to him. And then where's Piper is back here, and then her significant other's Andrew, which I think is somebody out there. We got a lot of significant others or special people, so we may be having 3 weddings here, pretty soon. And that's the last one, my sister Jane, and then she has her 3 children. Starts out with Ian and his special person in his life, which is Katie, and then Zach and Hillary. And I think and then over here I have Marge. She's the oldest of the girls, and then Pam. So that's kind of our collective family, and we'll talk a little bit about our cousins. Who did I miss? Tom, I'm sorry. Y'all met Tom last night. He's the talented one of the family. I'm sorry. I wrote all this down so I wouldn't forget anybody. And then Jennifer, his wife. So, yeah, Tom, what?
Karen, your wife?
My wife? Am I married? Oh. You all heard Karen earlier today, yes. And then I want to talk about Karen. Well, Karen's side of the family, which is the tribal side, and we already introduced Barb and Charlie Frank, and then Bev, and they are the ones that helped set this up today. So special thanks to them for helping set up the reception tonight. Let me tell you a little bit about our lovely Laura, who we are. So who's gonna have it? This is our daughter with the shining eyes. Laura joined our family on August 22nd in 1988 and shares the name of her great-grandmother, Laura May Bell, her grandmother, Joanne Tobiasen, and her aunt, Beverly Ann. So it's Laura Ann Munch. What many of you don't know, well, she was born again in 8/22/88. It was like the third time we went to the delivery room, I think. The first time was like 8/8/80. I thought it would be pretty neat to have 8/8/88 as your birthday. But anyway, so shortly after Laura was born, we actually moved to a little town southwest of Pueblo called Beulah. And it's in the mountains, and this is really where Laura learned to love the mountains. And as Karen said earlier, we had this historic log cabin that we were remodeling, but we spent a lot of time, of course, out in the woods. And she had her favorite doll, which was a Cabbage Patch doll by the name of Happy, and she'd put Happy in her backpack. And with her entourage of her dogs, she just would go out exploring, and of course, then with her brothers also. So she really kind of grew up in the mountains. And Karen mentioned earlier about the term Wees Woods, and to make a little more of where that came from. This property we had was probably only maybe 3-5 acres. It wasn't that big, but when you're 2 or 3 years old, it's like this is your entire world. And so we'd go out and kind of walk the boundaries, and instead of Laura saying, are these ours woods? She would say, are these Wees Woods? And so that's where the term Wees Woods came from, and it actually then kind of became the name of our property up there. So it was a little bit Wees Woods. See what next page. Then in the warmer months, we'd hike down. We had a little spring creek behind us. We'd go down and watch the fish. There was actually a general store. This is a real, just interesting little mountain community, and they had penny candy. So we'd walk down there and buy penny candy. And in the winter, we'd build snow forts and igloos, and we'd sled down the hill in front of our house. So it was a little bit of a kind of an idyllic place to grow up. But when Laura and Rob got to school age, then we decided we better move back to town. So we did that. But as many of you may have heard, we do have another family summer compound in Eagle Nest, New Mexico. And in fact, the aspen trees for the hoopah, actually we cut those, on the property. Rob and I did and put that together this summer. But it was here we annually, and with all these cousins, we'd collectively celebrate what they call the unbirthday. So instead of everybody having their own birthday, we'd all get together and celebrate an unbirthday in the summer. We'd hike to our favorite spot above the property, which is called the Rocks. And then we went on backpacking, camping excursions, and we spent time as one big family. And that's why you can kind of see why we're all close, because a lot of the cousins are all about the same age, and we kind of did a lot of celebrations together. After when Laura, her love affair of the mountains continued in her college years. Many of you may not know, but she actually worked at Philmont Boy Scout Ranch, where she was a ranger and then later was a camp director. And this is where Laura really learned to become a leader of men. I went up to visit her one time. She had a whole crew of guys, and she was the camp director, and they really knew it. And so I thought it was very fitting when Josh chose to propose to Laura, and where else but the mountains. And it was in one of Josh's, it was during a hike, which is not surprising, to one of Josh's favorite spots. It was a very beautiful location. He discovered years earlier, because Josh actually had worked at a summer camp. He was a camp counselor, so this was a place he was very familiar with. So it was, very fitting that where else to get engaged but, on a mountain. And to this day, as you all found out yesterday, what did they do, during the way they went on a hike and took a lot of you with them. So, and they still spend a lot of time, as you guys know, in the mountains. So it's not surprising that she and Josh, chose this beautiful place in Crested Butte. Getting feedback. Okay. At this most beautiful time of the year, amidst the golden quaking aspens, as the site of their wedding, as we all have been, and we've been so blessed with this beautiful Colorado day and this most special wedding and the melding together of our two families through this marriage. So, Laura, your mom and I are so proud of both you and Josh and wish you both best all the happiness that a life full of love can bring. Thank you. Oh.
You can't get away that fast. Thank you. Love you.
Yep.
All right, how's everyone doing tonight? All right, I'm Sam, I'm the best man, and I've known Josh for a very, very long time, and the people that were at the welcome dinner last night, which was awesome, by the way, heard that Jonathan Schwartz may have been his second oldest friend, but you were wrong. You're wrong. I've known Josh since preschool, actually. So, Sarah, you're number one, I'm number two. So, sorry, John. So to talk about that, me and Josh really have known each other a long time, but we didn't become good friends until after school, really, after college. We went to a trip in Mexico in college, and we both graduated. I graduated a little late, and worked in bed. So did Josh, and we ended up needing a roommate at the same time, and we ended up living together. So if I wasn't engaged and Josh didn't find Laura, we really could have a civil union. That's how long we lived together. So I was gonna tell Josh's story through his food intake, but that would be a little boring because his diet's pretty boring. Just to give you an idea, when we first started living together, so Kayla, you were saying that Josh had no muscle, and I know why. Okay, so when we were living together, I'm looking at his diet, and this is what he would eat. Pop-Tarts in the morning, untoasted, first of all, untoasted, cold Pop-Tarts. Were they s'mores or cinnamon? Cinnamon sugar. A peanut butter sandwich for lunch, nothing else on it. No honey, no jelly, pretty weird. And then he would come home and have pasta with red sauce. And I mean, literally pasta with Newman's red sauce. Not even meat. So he wasn't eating protein. You wanna know why he doesn't have muscle? Start eating some protein. All right, so basically, Josh has started eating more food, as we saw tonight, which is still kind of funny that Laura hates fish and we got salmon, and Josh hates chicken and we got chicken. So, still, it's kind of weird, but awesome at the same time. So, another connection we have is that we're both Delts. I went to Arizona. Go Cats, bear down. And we found out that, so we had a Delt connection, we did our handshake, and Josh goes, so we won some award that I have never heard of, because when I've learned that the Delts in Oregon and Arizona are very different. They win awards, we get put on probation. And I always remember meeting Elliot for the first time, and he goes, oh, you're an Arizona Delt. We gave them a good name. So that was another connection we had, but honestly, that shows, it really explains Josh and I's friendship. I was kind of always the wild and crazy one, while Josh kind of was the down-to-earth one, and kind of a really good friendship formed from that, and was awesome. I brought Josh out of his shell a lot, I feel, and Josh also kind of tamed me a little bit, which I needed sometimes. So about that is that Mark's telling me to roast Josh, and the worst stories I hear is that he pushed a friend in high school. If that's what I did, my parents would have been so damn grateful. Elementary school? Oh, that's where he was tough. Okay, gotcha. All right. So I do have one story that stands out, and it was after a show, of course. I was actually the more tame one that night, and we're walking home from our friend Brian's house, and Josh walks into a tree branch. And he got mad at that tree branch. And as the more tame one that night, I'm like, Josh, you should probably fight that tree branch. And Josh fought it, and he lost. He tried to kick it, and the tree branch won. So, I've tried to roast you, and that's really, about as crazy as Josh has gotten. We've gotten crazy, but, a lot of that we don't remember. So another thing that we all know from being at this wedding is that Josh loves his concerts. And he worked at KBCO, the radio station in Denver, and being his roommate, I reaped the benefits of that. Really, I did. And he would ask me to go to a show, and I would say we probably averaged a show probably 3 nights a week for probably 2 or 3 years, I would say. And I saw the Mumford & Sons. I'm trying to get bands that you all know. So the Mumford & Sons, we saw them front row at the Ogden Theater probably 2 weeks before they won a Grammy, which is pretty cool. And I will say I did introduce Josh to bluegrass, so you're welcome, Laura. And we really made a connection through our music. And the only bad thing I can say about Laura is that she's taken my damn tickets. My wallet is much smaller because of Laura. But in all honesty, since Josh has met Laura, he's now eating protein, so thank you. And he's even trying to build things. So if you've been to their house recently, they got Rennie, and I went over probably a week or 2 before they got Rennie. Laura, you weren't there, so I don't know if you've heard this story yet. But I go over there, I'm like, what a sweet fence. That's a really nice fence. So there's a sweet, nice fence they built. And Josh goes, well, Laura built it. And I'm like, of course she did. Okay, and he goes, well, I did some of it. And if you go to their house, you walk out the back door, look to the right, and there's a plank that's sideways. That's why Jews don't build fences. But in all seriousness, Laura and Josh, I've known Josh a long time, and since you've come into his life, I've seen a different Josh. And like he said in his vows, you've made him more outgoing. You've made him you've made him the person he is right now, and it's awesome. And you're awesome. This party's awesome. And let's keep doing it. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, so great.
Those were some tough acts to follow. Hopefully I got all of my dabbing my eyes out at the ceremony. My name is Piper, and Laura is my cousin, but more importantly, I'm pretty sure she was my first ever friend. We have a whole group of cousins who are close in age, and every summer we would spend about a month together at our family property in New Mexico. I spent all year looking forward to hanging out with my cousins. We would put on shows, do art projects, and celebrate all our birthdays at once in a giant unbirthday party. But as 2 girls born within 6 months of each other, Laura and I had something special. Neither of us had a sister, but we had each other. When one of us got a new toy or hit a milestone, the other one wanted it too. I'm still jealous that Laura had 3 American Girl dolls while I only had 2. Even as a little girl, what I most admired about Laura was her poise. Whether we were playing card games or making an elaborate home video about supervillains, Laura always knew just what to say. She was always so calm and so cool. Plus, she can actually dance. Why didn't I get those genes? We had girly habits like dress up, but Laura and I also learned to be strong together. We had to, because we needed to defend our territory against our boy cousins. Come on, no boys allowed means no boys allowed. That strength came in handy as we learned to be outdoor women together, backpacking on Mount Wheeler in New Mexico as kids and working at Philmont Scout Ranch together in college. I love that Laura is always tough, willing to show up and do hard hikes. You do not want to get between a munch woman and her mountain. That love of the mountains was what made me move to Denver a few years after college. This will sound ridiculous, but I had no sense of Colorado geography. I showed up with no idea that I was only 45 minutes from Laura in Boulder. It was a wonderful surprise. Here I had this built-in friend who would go hiking with me and who wanted to go to all the same concerts. Laura is so easygoing and kind, the perfect companion for just about anything. The hardest part of living near each other is explaining our relationship to people. She's my friend. No, she's my cousin. No, she's my friend. The semantics can be confusing. One thing that has never been confusing, Laura's feelings about Josh. Here's how their meeting went from my perspective. Laura had just gone through a breakup and told me she loved being single. She was definitely going to enjoy some time to herself. She was an independent woman. Besides, we all know that boys have cooties. The next time I saw her, she told me she had met the love of her life. I don't think those were her exact words, but that was the gist. What I said? I thought you were loving single life. I didn't even know you were on Tinder. I'm still not sure why she was on Tinder, but I'm sure glad she swiped right on Josh. I've met Laura's other boyfriends, and he was the first guy who could actually keep up with her. Laura is ambitious in everything she does, from her take no prisoners career to her social schedule. Josh is the same way. I mean, I've always liked concerts, but Josh has stamina. I also love that Josh knows how lucky he is to have Laura. They met in the winter, and by Laura's birthday party that August, he was telling her friends and family that he wanted to marry her. It takes confidence to love that openly, even if the person you love is as awesome as Laura. I never thought anyone would be good enough for Laura, but I have to admit that Josh deserves her. I'm so glad that you two have each other, and also glad that your newest house is less than 2 miles from me. But before I toast your bright future, I do want to set the record straight on something. There's been a lot of talk at this wedding about grandbabies. Of course, I'd love to be an aunt, but as Laura reminded me this morning, she and I have a plan. I'm not entirely sure what kind of cousins our kids will be. Second cousins? First cousins once removed? But I sure hope they will be friends, just like we are. Also, I am nowhere near ready to have kids, so here's to 2 people that I love, and here's to taking your sweet time.
That was so amazing.
That was amazing.
Love you too.